I went from level 1 to Grandmaster in Marvel Rivals in 6 days or 20 hours. I've been playing FPS games for 16 years, and I'm a top 1% aim trainer player and aim coach. And with the new year here, I'm going to give you guys brutally honest advice that I guarantee will make you better. This video is going to be separated into 3 sections. The first one's for beginners, second one is for intermediates, and the third one is for advanced. And as each section gets more advanced, the tips will get better and more advanced. So if you're serious about improving, or if you just want to hear stuff that you've probably never heard before, make sure you watch till the end. In this episode is Shotty's Yap Session. And if you guys are new here, this is the series where I yap about a topic, and you guys turn me on in the background while you do something else, or if you really want to, you can watch the mid gameplay. Let's get right into it. Now first I'm going to go into the basics of FPS games, or in this case, Marvel Rivals. If you guys are below like plat to gold, genuinely you should be playing differently than you do when you get to higher ranks. And I think that's something people don't talk about enough, because a lot of people watch, oh, this is how I play Grandmaster, this is how I play in top 500. But if you make another account, which if you don't know, I have 2 accounts in Diamond, and one that I stream on my channel and play Star-Lord, which is in Gold 2 right now. So I've experienced the lower ranks multiple times in this game already. And a lot of people don't realize that you should be playing differently. Even your decisions as a player should be different in lower ranks. And I think that's also why higher rank players sometimes struggle in lower elo, because I used to make jokes with my friends. We would play, and sometimes I just wouldn't be able to hit someone in a lower elo because they just wouldn't strafe, or they would just bot walk straight at me, and it would completely throw off my aim, and then I would miss. Because even something simple like that, just strafing or positioning, it's completely different. And a good example of this is Wolverine or Hulk. 2 great characters. If you try to use them in bronze, you're gonna throw. Wolverine, maybe not if you're a good Wolverine, but if you try to use Hulk, no matter how good you are in bronze, you basically can't climb, because no one's gonna push with you. Everyone's gonna just sit there and ignore you, and your whole team probably won't get kills, and you're just going to be in their face beating them to death with Hulk. And if they put Penny on, you just lose because you're the only one going in. But if you do that in Grandmaster top 500, you guys are going to dominate. That's the meta right now. But it's not the same. It isn't just one size fits all. Now, speaking of pushing, that's the first thing I'm going to touch on. Pushing in this game, or in general FPS games. A lot of people push either too hard, too little, or just too afraid to do something called taking space. Taking space, you can think about it as if you have a paintbrush. If your team is blue and the enemy team is red, you want to paint as much of the map blue as you possibly can and as little of it red as you possibly can. So you want to take space from them. It's like those games, I don't know, the IO games, I can't remember, where you're capturing the colors. That's your goal in most games. You want to take space and you want to control a larger portion of the map so that you could just sit there and bludgeon the enemy team for free, or control how they play. Like if you watch some of my Star-Lord streams, unless I say it, you won't even notice that I'm pushing people out of position, or I'm pushing people into my position so I get a fair 1v1. Well, things like that. Pushing can be used to completely control the flow of a match. If you know how to push, and if you learn how to push, you can make it so the enemy team does whatever you want. And it doesn't just have to be that you getting dominated. And that's why sometimes you'll have games where their tank is barrel stuffing you guys, and you guys are getting pushed all the way back to spawn, and it feels like there's nothing you could do. And from a DPS perspective, it's like, I can't kill anyone. They just own us. From a tank perspective, it's like my DPS aren't killing anything and I'm just not getting killed enough. And from a healer perspective, it's no one's killing anything. You guys all suck. You don't realize that a lot of times that isn't even what's going on. It's you guys are getting pushed into a corner, or you guys are getting put in a fishbowl, and they're just sitting there spamming down one spot because you guys aren't controlling any space on the map, so they don't have to look anywhere. How many times have you guys been playing, and the reason why you can't get past a choke is their tank's in your face, there's a Hawkeye in China sitting on high ground sniping you, their healers are on a whole nother side of the map, and it feels like they're everywhere. It feels like you guys are just getting shot at from every single angle and you can't do anything. And that's what taking space is. And when you're pushing, you have to think about that. You have to say, okay, if we have 2 tanks, maybe I should have one that goes straight through the main choke, and I should have another one that goes off with our flank DPS, and then they both pick off some people here, and then we pick off people over here, and by the time we actually get to the point, no one's there anymore. It's like 2 people on one fight, and then we win. Instead of all of us in one spot. Because imagine, it's just one little blue line in the main choke, while everything else is red. Why would you do that? It's not even fair. It's completely unfair to fight that. So, don't. think about maps like that. Now, when you're in low rank, you're never going to get teammates to do that. So I would just think about how can I make space? Like if you're a tank main, you can make tons of space. But if you're a DPS or a healer, you have to start thinking about how can you make space? Or how can you convince them to make space? Because sometimes if you talk, especially if you're the healer, people respect it more if you come out and talk about it because everyone hates DPS players. Tanks get some respect, but if you're a DPS, it's always your fault. Speaking from experience. So healers get less flack. They still get flack, obviously, but it's a little bit better. So maybe if you're a healer main, you can try to talk people into doing it, but you just need to think about how can I do it? And speaking of thinking about what you can do, your job in ranked is do your job. That's it. Everyone wants to talk about their teammates and this and that and blah, blah, blah. You can't control them. Unless you're going to stack and get friends, you can't control your teammates. And you're all that matters in a ranked match. Because you're the only person that will always be on your team when you play ranked. So stop thinking about other people. Think about, what did I do? How can I do this better? How can I take space better? How can I position better? And while we're talking about positioning, the next point, positioning. Now for positioning, I'm going to do a full positioning guide in the future with drawings and diagrams and all that good stuff because someone told me to. But for now, you should think about positioning the same way you think about taking space, the red versus blue. For positioning, there's off angles. Off angles are just angles that are away from the main choke. So if everything is red in one spot, you're going to be a little speck of blue over on the left or right, shooting at the enemy while they're looking at your team. That's taking an off angle. And just learning how to take off angles and bait your team and learn how to use your team to your advantage as a DPS player, or even as a tank and sometimes a healer, is huge. Because especially in lower ranks, nobody looks around. And the hit markers in this game, since this game is third person, it's a little misleading. It's hard to tell where you're getting shot from sometimes. So just that makes it so huge for you. And off angles, I mentioned this in my last video, but off angles are really, really powerful because even if you're not getting kills, you're pulling aggro. And pulling aggro is basically just taking the attention of the enemy team onto you. You're getting everyone to look at you or move around towards you. It's just like when you get a Psylocke or a Black Panther or a Star-Lord, somebody in your backline just pestering your healers, and your healers are constantly, instead of ignoring him or instead of healing each other and just keep on pushing, they're trying to fight him, they're trying to hide from him, they're trying to play differently because of him, and a lot of the times you have to. Even if the player is terrible and he's doing that, at some point he's going to convince them not to heal, either to shoot at him or peel to him or something, and that gives your team, if they play off of it properly, a huge advantage. Because you're just going to get free wins. And that's why sometimes when you lose games, your healers will be constantly saying, guys, please, the Black Panther, backline, help me. And if no one helps, or if one of the tanks don't peel and defend him, you lose. Because usually they're attacking more than one healer. That means both of your healers will probably be pulled off you, or a healer and a DPS or something like that. Then you're going to complain, guys, why am I getting no healing? But it's because they were looking away. Because they had to. They were going to die. But doing that to the enemy team wins so many games. If you take anything from this video, learn what getting the enemy's attention does for you. That's also why sometimes if the Venom's decent, Venom is a complete tumor in a match. Because he's just sitting there jumping on you. Hello there, huh? Let me just take all your health. All right, you're going to heal. Doesn't matter. I fly away. I'm full health again. And he just keeps doing it. Then you see your tank dies. Because 3 of you were fighting a Venom in the backline that you didn't even get to kill. And your tank wasn't paying attention, so he died for free because he was pushing up thinking his team was with him. And then you lose games very easily. Another thing that I noticed whenever you guys are playing, a lot of people that are newer to the game or a lot of people that are starting to play, you need to learn that most times it's better to keep your abilities constantly on cooldown. Everything except for your escape ability, which is used to save your life when you play out of position or the enemy team dives you, you should be using all of your cooldowns, unless you have something specifically planned for it. A good example of this is Namor. What separates a good Namor from a bad one is a good one is constantly holding left click because he doesn't reload and he has constant ammo, constantly right clicking, and always has 2 squids placed down or all of his squids on cooldown. Always. And a bad one forgets to do all of that or some of that or anything. And there's so many times I've watched people play and it's like, why aren't you using it? There's no benefit to not using it. There's no better time to use it. You're not going to be able to get a kill off of it if you save it for 20 minutes. Just use it. Now, using your ultimate ties into this. I had a game today. It was funny. I was streaming me playing Star-Lord. And this guy on my team he was charging up his ult. It was Doctor Strange. He was charging up his ult. He was just about to get it. And I was like, okay, cool, perfect. We're going to win this fight. And I told him, I was like, don't overheat. As soon as I said that, he overheated and he instantly popped his ultimate. He knew no one was near. It's just sometimes we get tunnel vision and we're trying to win and we're trying to try hard and we just click that button because we're like, maybe we'll win with it. Just breathe. A lot of the time, you have more time than you think. Just take a second, breathe, look around, assess the situation, see, can I use it? Because your ultimate isn't just any ability. You should be ulting to win fights. You should be ulting to bait out ultimates. You should be ulting to do something. You shouldn't be using it just to say, maybe this will do something. For example, Strange, you should be using it because you know it wins fights. Or if you're using a DPS one, if you have both your DPS ults, use yours first, or comment and say, I'm going to use mine first. Get out a healer ultimate out of it, and then have the other guy ult and win the game. Also, one beautiful thing about this game, if you guys get ranked anxiety or if you're worried about climbing, I think since this game is free, every single person should have at least 2 accounts. By the way, I'm sorry there are no placements. I feel terrible every time I make a new account and I have to just go through bronze and keep people stuck there. I feel really bad about it. I was actually having someone talk about it today in my stream. I'm sorry. I don't want to do it. It's just the game made me do it, and I want to practice too, you know? So I'm sorry about that. But I think everybody should have an alt account. Because an alt account not only makes it so you can prove yourself, sort of, and you can climb back to whatever rank your main is, you can get tons of practice, you can learn different roles, you can learn different things, and you get more playtime without being afraid of losing your shiny pretty rank, which I think is a great thing. So if you don't know how to make an alt account, if you have Steam, just make another Steam account. That's all. Now, before we head to the intermediate tips and intermediate level, a few more things. Personally, I would go to either the coolest character you like, or I would go look at a tier list and look what's best, and I would just say, main it, one trick it. Now, a lot of people say, oh, don't one trick, don't do this, don't do that. If you're below gold, or even plat, one trick, I don't care. Because too many people spread themselves too thin, and they never actually get good at any character. They're just, oh, well, I'll play this one, I'll play this one, I'll play this one, and they suck at all of them, or they're okay at all of them. And you don't want to just be okay. You want to master a few. Later on, then you say, okay, now that I've mastered or near mastered this one, I will learn another one. But stop flexing and stop trying to be such a team player early on when you're not good at what you're supposed to be doing. It's more important if everyone does their job than if you guys have a 2-2-2 comp or a 3-3 comp. That doesn't matter as much as if you have 3 DPSs and 2 healers and a tank, but all 3 DPSs are really good DPSs, the tank is amazing, and your healers are great. That's better than someone switching off a role that they suck at. So stop listening to people telling you, oh, come on, it's a team player game. You have to do this for the team. If you're bad, you don't have to do anything for the team. The best thing you could do for the team is stop being bad and learn what you're supposed to be doing. Now, I know that doesn't sound nice, but it's true. Too many people are bad at their role or bad at a different role, and they switch to that role because the team needs it. The only thing a team really needs in this game is a healer, and Jeff exists, so it's not very hard to heal. You can just heal bot in a corner and just spam left click and heal everybody, and throw down bubbles. So it's stop stressing about team comps, especially if you're below like the higher ranks. I'd say Diamond Plus. If you're below Diamond Plus and you're completely stressing about team comps, you have other things to worry about. And too many times, I've had people literally throw matches because we didn't get a 2-2-2 comp. That doesn't even, I don't get it. So please, stop listening to everybody else. Hopefully this video gets 1 million views so everyone who plays Marvel Rivals hears this. Because we need to stop with the flex, guys, flex, learn everything, do everything. Because it's just not true. You'd rather a team of people that are really good at their job than a team that are pretty mid at their job. And later on, when you're better, then learn something else. And that's also why I made alt accounts to learn different characters. Because certain roles, I'm a bronze in. Well, okay, maybe like a silver, but I'm bad at them. And I know I'm bad at them. So what's the point in me going to Grandmaster and just saying, sorry guys, I'm going to go throw your matches, and then just throw to learn something on a free game. Mind you, that's the big part. On a free game. Please. Anyways, let's get into section 2. The intermediate section. Now we can talk about learning how to flex and all that. Once you've mastered one character, once you feel like you're really comfortable with a character or a certain role, then you should learn something in the same family. For example, super aggressive playing on like Punisher with a shotgun is somewhat reminiscent of playing Thor barrel stuffing people, right? So that's why I did Thor as my tank main. And then I'd play him, I'd practice him, and I only learned it after I could actually play my main role. So that if I don't get my main role, I'm not useless to the team. Because yes, at later ranks, you really should know more than one character. It's just you don't want to do that too soon because it does take a lot more time than a lot of people will actually take to learn a character or learn a role properly. And also, I think that's why Plat is considered ELO hell by a lot of people. Because in Plat, people just think they're better than they are. A lot of people in Plat just say, well, you know what, I'm good at my role, and then they don't do their role at all. They're just DPS players that actually have 2,000 damage, or terrible positioning, or a tank player that is not used to ever getting blamed. He only blames his DPS, even though he doesn't realize that he's never taking space, he's never pushing up, he's never doing anything useful for the team, but he's not dying, so he thinks he's helpful. Plat is full of that, and I think that's why Plat is full of it, because everyone doesn't actually do their role, or a lot of people don't actually do their role, then they get hard stuck there. And they constantly are just blaming everybody else instead of saying, what is my role? Am I doing my role? How do I do my role? Speaking of doing roles, I might have forgot to add it on earlier. So, one quick rundown of roles. I mentioned a lot with tanks. Take space, push up, and if you have 2 tanks, protect your backline. As a DPS, you should be playing depending on how your other DPS plays, or how your tanks play. If your other DPS is a backline character, you want to either be weakening the squishies in the back for them, or you want to be frontlining with your tank, pumping damage into their tank. It all depends on how your other DPS plays. For example, on Star-Lord, I will be frontlining with my tank if I know my other DPS or other 2 DPS or whatever aren't going to be frontlining. Because we'll never have enough damage on their tank that isn't going to get out-healed if I don't. So you have to be able to say, should I push? Should I not push? When should I push? Where should I stand? And as a DPS, you want to try to be making a lot of off angles where you're playing away from the main choke so that you're constantly giving pressure so your tanks can push up and the rest of your team can push up. And healers, turn around, pay attention. I love you guys, right? You guys, we'd literally be impossible to play without you, but too many times, I actually have a clip of it this morning when I was playing Star-Lord. I stood still on point, begging, spamming, heal me, heal me. This guy did not turn around to heal me. He would not look at me to heal me. Then he got ulted by Psylocke. And I bet he would blame us if he had a mic. It's just, too many people don't realize their surroundings. Especially if you guys have an Iron Man. A lot of people ask for Iron Man players because it's a good comp with Hulk. If you have an Iron Man, get used to looking up. It's just, because the thing is, I can't tell healers how to play. There's not much you guys have to do. Survive, heal, right? But one thing that I see a lot of mistakes being made is you guys don't look up, or you don't look behind you, or you never heal your other healer. Those are the big common issues I see. So just make sure when you're playing, you either have game sound turned up, or you're on high alert looking around for your teammates. Because especially in low ranks, we're stupid. We're not going to look around. We're not going to know where you are. And unfortunately, it's your job to save us when we're stupid. Now, when you're starting to become an intermediate player, you want to start thinking about things like comboing ults or punishing your enemies and playing differently than you did before. You should start utilizing things like Groot ult. Groot is a great character if used right. If not, he's free kills. He just walks in, doesn't really have a get out, puts up a wall that everyone just burns through, and they murder him. But Groot ult plus most ults in the game is a free team wipe. Groot ult plus Moon Knight, free kill. Groot ult plus Iron Man, free kills. Groot ult plus Vishanti, or whatever, what's his name? Strange's ult. It's a free team wipe. Every single one of those is free. Starting to think about your teammates and thinking about, hey, yo, could we do this together, or should we do that together? Or using team-up combos like Hulk with Strange or Hulk with Iron Man. Stuff like that. If you just learn simple stuff like that, even if you're a bad player, you can be carried by the teamwork. Because I can't tell you how many times I've lost just because the enemy team used better ults than us. We've lost games that all of us have 40, 50 plus kills, and everyone on the enemy team has like 20, but it didn't matter. Because those 20 kills were full team wipes, basically, because they had good ult usage. So you should start thinking about, how can I do this together? Now, of course, I'll make a video in the future about ult combos, so the best ones and all that, but start experimenting. Make one friend, make one person to play with, and just say, yo, let's try this. Yo, let's try this. And there's a practice range. You can try everything in that. Now, when you're starting to get to the middle of the game and more of the hell ranks, you have to start thinking about just not playing. Sometimes, in my opinion, loser's queue is real. everyone will say, oh, well, that's just a cope and blah, 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 or it's just statistics that loser's queue isn't real. Listen, you want to talk about statistics? Why would a company not make a loser's queue so you could sit there and play the game longer and play the game more? Because a winner's queue and a loser's queue will make you feel great, make you climb, and then you'll be like, wow, I love that. And then you'll lose a ton, and you'll be like, I just want to get that hit again. I want to climb again. That sounds like simple human psychology to me. But regardless of that debate, I've had times where I just go on a streak of the worst teammates I've ever experienced in my life. People that are actually just trying to throw, or they just want to make someone's life miserable. When you start getting 1 or 2 of those, just get off. If you lose 2 games in a row, get off for the day. Or if you went on a win streak of like 4 games, 3 games, and you lose 1, just stop. You're positive. That's all that matters. You went up. Stop playing so much. Because a lot of people, when they're trying to get out of the intermediate ranks, they just tilt queue. That's why you go to plat and you see a level 60 in there that's just terrible. It's like, he's probably not that bad, but he's just playing to play, and he just thinks, if I just keep queuing, eventually I will rank up. And that's just not true. If you're not reflecting, if you're not thinking about what you did wrong, if you're not trying to master your characters, if you're not playing at better times, you're not really trying to rank up. You're just playing the game. And there's nothing wrong with that, but be honest with yourself. Are you just playing the game, or are you trying to rank up, trying to improve? What's your goal? Because too many times, you're just not real with yourself. Too many times we want to save our ego or save our feelings because we don't want to be the reason why we lost, or we don't want it to be our fault that we're not ranking up, or accepting that maybe we're just not good enough to rank up. Because you can be better, you just have to let yourself go of the ego. And by the way, some people get mad when you talk about ego. My ego, if you ask any of my friends, we have jokes that saying that my ego is bigger than my brain. It is. But I only have ego when it's convenient, I guess you could say. I use my ego to make myself more competitive. I use my ego to make myself better at games or push myself. And I even talked about it earlier today in my matches in my stream. There were plenty of times I would just say, yeah, that was my fault. I shouldn't have done that, or I should have played that differently. Even though I could say, oh my God, I'm the only one killing anything on this team. These people suck. And even if that's true, it's better to just say, I suck because I did this wrong, or I threw because I did this wrong, and then adjust for it, or make it yourself better, or play better. Now, this section's a little shorter, but I'm going to add one thing here before we get to the really advanced stuff, or the stuff that my longtime subscribers know about. If you're an intermediate player that's trying to get more advanced, or trying to get an edge over other people or regular players, a little bit of aim training or aim practice, and I'm going to be releasing a practice range guide for you guys, so you guys can practice, but just basic aim practice will set you ahead of 90% of people. Because most people don't realize, a lot of people don't have that crazy of aim. Their aim is only good because they put themselves in positions where it's easier to aim. For example, putting yourself on high ground, it's easier to shoot down at people than shoot up at people. That doesn't mean they have insane aim. It means they played it better than you. So why not, if you want to be the best, or if you want to start pushing to be better, why not think about it like that for yourself? I can sit there and do better positioning and practice my aim and be even better than everyone else, which is a good idea. I do think you guys should start practicing it. So if you're really serious about improving, practice your aim. If you don't know where to start practicing your aim, join my Discord. We have tons of aim resources, Kovacs playlists, Aim Labs playlists for some of them. We have everything aim that you could ask for. Or just ask in chat. I have a guy named Vic. He's really cool. He answers tons of questions. And we have a lot of people in there that are just willing to help. Sometimes we don't respond. Sometimes we're all like dead or whatever, but it's a lot of help in there. So if you do want to start getting into aim training, check out more of this channel or join the Discord. Tons of people will help you. Now, let's get into the advanced stuff. This is the stuff that I love talking about. It's a blend between improvement and science, which I love doing. Because I think a lot of it is also how I improve so quickly at so many things. Because I think about things in statistics or analytically. It's also why I should have stayed engineering in college. But engineering, especially in engineering, you have to think about stuff in a certain type of way. There's a certain way of thinking for engineering. And I think about aim or improving in video games the same way. Now, if you guys don't know, aim is basically just hand-eye coordination. You see where your target is or your crosshair or whatever, and you move your arm, or if you aim with your mouth, thumb, or whatever, towards the target. And that's all aiming is in the simplest terms. But there's a few things I do for aiming because most people don't do it, and it gives me a huge edge. And if you really want to be one of those try-hard, advanced loser players like me, and if you really want to be the best, it works. The few things are, I don't want to have carpal tunnel or deal with wrist pain. So I do wrist workouts, I do finger workouts, I do stretches, and most importantly, I do eye exercises, eye stretches. I found that over the years, it's completely helped me with my vision, especially starting doing YouTube. When I first started YouTube, my vision completely diminished because I would sit in front of the screen working like 18 hours a day, learning, researching, practicing, writing scripts, editing, everything. 18 hours, sometimes a little more. Sometimes I just didn't sleep because I was so excited about a video. Like I'm kind of going to do this one because I've already been recording 40 minutes and this is probably only going to be like 25 minutes into the video because, yeah, I'm a yapper. And then I'm going to have to edit it for 6 hours. But eye exercises, it's really simple ones. I'll have them all in the description or in the resources tab of my Discord. It's just little stretches you do. And if you want to really practice your aim for it, you can start tracking targets on some of the maps and you'll learn how to just use your eyes to aim. Because a lot of people, when they aim, they move their head in real life or they try to keep themselves centered. So they're only staring directly at the center of their screen. And a good example of this is, how many times have you been playing and you're tryharding and your friends are spectating you and they keep asking you, Bro, you don't see him? He's right there. Are you stupid? It's because we don't keep our eyes fluid when we play. That's also why when I started driving, if you don't know, I'm getting old. I'm like 23. Yeah, I'm 23. When you start driving, you have to go from just looking in front of you, which gamers are professionals at, to looking left, right, rear view mirror in front of you. And you have to be watching what everyone else is doing and driving for them. I think I'm biased because driving in New York is much harder than most places because it's so chaotic, but you have to learn how to pay attention to everything. And if your eyes are rigid or not fluid and you're not looking around, it's impossible. So that's why I use eye training to practice that and help me with headaches so I don't get that anymore. And I'm able to focus for longer periods of time. As for the wrist and finger exercises, they'll be in the description. I used to have a click in my wrist. It would feel like when I moved my wrist slowly left and right, it would almost jump. And I started training it, and I eventually got it almost perfect. I still have it a little bit, but way better than before. Now, another thing is sleep. Sleep and water intake are almost directly correlated to everything in your life. Hormones, performance, reaction time, every single thing. But a lot of people don't think about video games or games like this or aim training the way they do about working out. If you guys don't know, I was originally actually a fitness YouTuber. Maybe I'll show some photos here of my before and after. I was a little tub of lard. But I used to do fitness and I started doing aim training YouTube because they're extremely similar. And I played a ton of video games. But a lot of people don't think about aim training or practicing the way they do about working out. And they're the exact same. When you play Marvel Rivals and you're trying to improve and you're practicing, taking a rest day is important, or sleeping is important, or drinking water is important. But no one thinks about that. If you really want to be the best and you really want to improve, you need to start trying that. You need to start thinking about it. And actually, there were studies shown that to optimize your practice, practicing closer to bed actually helps you retain and build new connections in your brain better than you would if you did it at a different time. Because you can think about learning like a tower. Your brain will stack up the tower throughout the day, and then it'll deload from the top, clearing out the tower. So if you learn something right before bed, it'll be at the top of the tower. Then your brain, when you're sleeping, it's going to sort through all the layers. It's going to clear off the top, then the middle, then the bottom. Or if you wake up too early, you don't get the bottom cleared. So while we can't always get perfect sleep, you can optimize your practice so that you can improve better or faster than somebody else, or than you would have to save time. Another thing is practicing in suboptimal conditions. When you're practicing, too many people practice in a way that's comfortable. Now, to not bore you guys, there was a study I read that teaches you the best way to improve based on your skill level. Long story short, there's something called nominal difficulty and functional difficulty. Nominal difficulty is based on characteristics. So the size of a target you're practicing against, the patterns you're learning, the speed at which you're learning it, things like that. And functional difficulty is how hard something feels. So you can be practicing something that is hard, but you're so advanced that it doesn't feel hard, right? While someone who's a complete beginner could be practicing something extremely easy, but it feels impossible because they're new. The results of that study was that beginners learn best at low nominal difficulty and high functional difficulty, and advanced players improve better at high nominal difficulty and functional difficulty. Meaning that beginners should be practicing stuff that is easy but feels hard, and advanced players should be practicing stuff that is hard and feels hard. One thing you should realize from that is too many people practice stuff just to practice it, even when it's not hard anymore. It doesn't feel hard. You should always be chasing the feeling of difficulty. If it doesn't feel hard, you're probably not learning anything. It's the same way with working out. If you're working out, if the weight's too easy and you can just do 100 million reps of it, you're probably not putting on much muscle or building much neurodevelopment. So what's the point? Make sure you're chasing that difficulty if you're really trying to improve and maximize your improvement. If you guys saw my last video, I also talked about using music. There was a study that showed that whenever someone was studying listening to music, they were able to recollect information on the test when they listened to that same music again easier than they were. The point of me telling you guys that is, I believe it's also true for gaming. That's why sweat playlists and all that are so helpful or so useful, because it gets you in that zone. It gets you into the same mode that you were in when you were practicing. So I think that it can't hurt. Get yourself a music playlist or sweat playlist, and even if it's just quiet, turn it down so you can still focus, but just have it there. Now, a few more things since I told you guys about science. Instead of going all Andrew Huberman on you guys, there's a few things called acetaminophen, epinephrine, norepinephrine, whatever, adrenaline, etc., etc., etc. Long story short, if you've ever tried to get in a flow state or tried to focus and you just thought it was impossible, it's because you need certain things to get to that point. You need certain hormones to align for you to be able to focus. And in general, someone who's good at focusing can only focus for only about 1 hour and 30 minutes. So why am I telling you this? If you guys are really sweaty and try-hard-tastic, if you want to optimize your ranked gameplay, take a cold shower because it'll release almost all the hormones you need to focus. By the way, it doesn't actually have to be a cold shower. You can just suffer in cold for a few minutes or like a minute, and then play your ranked for about 1 hour and 30 minutes, then get off. That's like super sweaty loser try-hard stuff to do. I have definitely never done it. I promise. I'm lying. No, but yeah, when I was younger, I was such a loser. It's very fitting I do these videos. I used to have blueberries too, because blueberries help with focus and they actually help with eye health. They help with a lot. So if you want blueberries, you should get some blueberries. Another thing, for anyone who's ever had problems with shakiness in their hands or a lack of calmness in their aim, there's something called L-theanine that my best friend, he's had shaky hands that he got from his dad for his whole life, basically, right? And I recommended him something called L-theanine. It's basically, it just calms you. I recommended him start taking it, and him and his dad tried it, and they both completely agreed. It helped a lot. They were able to calm themselves down. They were able to shake less in their hands. And I actually take it whenever I have coffee or caffeine without L-theanine in it. I make sure to take a supplement for it, because that can be the difference from me feeling like my heart's about to blow up out of my chest versus feeling focused and feeling awake and feeling alert. If you guys want it, I have a link in the description for it. If you guys didn't know, there's something called sensitivity manipulation. And it's something I've been using since console to get my aim better. What it does is, if you play a really, really fast sensitivity or really, really slow sensitivity that you're not used to, I used to go up to like the fastest sensitivity I could on console. When you play on that and you practice on that, specifically practice, not just play and torture yourself, unless you hate yourself and you have an alt account that you're okay with throwing on, but practicing on that, by the time you go back to your main sensitivity, it will help and it'll drastically improve your aim or your overall performance. If you guys don't believe me, a lot of my coaching students do it. Almost all of them, I have them on a program doing it. And a basic program I do for them is 2 days of a really high or fast sensitivity and 2 days of a very slow sensitivity. Now, if you don't know, fast sensitivity I would call 20 centimeters per 360, and a slow sensitivity I would call around 60 or slower centimeters per 360. Now, if you don't know what centimeters per 360s means, it's how many centimeters you have to move in real life to do one 360 in game. There's going to be a calculator in the description to convert your sensitivity to see what it is, and you guys can start practicing that right away. If you're on console though, I would recommend you only do the fast one, because since you're on a joystick, you only need to be able to practice precise movements with it. You don't need to practice long, far movements with it. So I would only do the fast sensitivity practice. And as you get really good with it, or as you can control it, like you were able to control your old sensitivity, then you make it faster or slower if you guys are on PC too. And the goal is, the fast sensitivity makes it so you can control your aim way better and control the shakiness in your aim. And the slow sensitivity makes it so that you use your arm, your wrist, your fingers, all of it together when you aim, instead of only using some parts of your arm to aim. Anyways, my next video is probably going to be an aim routine for this game. So if you guys want to see that, subscribe. And if you guys want to hear more about how I climbed to GM in 6 days, check this video out. Have a good one, everyone. God bless you.